Hello, hello. It's Thursday, and that means it's time for Healthy Mama B. It's my Thursday evening live presentation. So I'm going to just wait a couple minutes for folks to join, and then we're going to get started. I've got a really great session planned for you tonight. I think you're really going to like it. We're going to be talking about how to get unstuck. While we're waiting, my name is Gail Ballin, and I am the founder of Healthy Mama B, which is a resource for men and women to get guidance, support, and motivation on their own weight loss journey. I'm a mom, I'm a therapist, and I'm also a weight loss success story. Healthy Mama B was developed as a result of my successful 113-pound weight loss. I'm still dieting, I'm still on my track to success, but you see, I was overweight most of my life, and after I lost the weight, I felt like a completely different person. I went from being really sad and just not living my life to my fullest to being a completely new person. And so something dawned on me. I realized that the journey wasn't as hard as I thought. As a matter of fact, the journey wasn't as hard as the decision to start. And that's right, you actually heard it correctly. Hindsight is always 20/20, and the God's honest truth is that the struggle to hold myself back from losing the weight was bigger than the struggle to actually lose the weight. And I was completely stuck, so I know what it feels like. It's an incredibly overwhelming feeling. I was emotionally paralyzed and really comfortable in my 300-pound body, but not really comfortable because I was miserable and I was unhappy for many, many years. So when I talked about, the journey isn't as hard as the decision to start, Oprah Winfrey, who I'm sure everybody knows, wrote an article for her magazine a couple years ago about getting unstuck. And in it, she has this quote, which is wonderful. "Nothing happens until you decide." Nothing happens until you decide. I couldn't agree more. The concept of losing weight is incredibly overwhelming for most people, especially when you have to lose a significant amount of weight. And it's really hard to imagine living life in such a regimented way, having to give up all of the things that you love, not being able to have fun and enjoy life. And people feel very often, and I know this because I felt this way, that when you are looking at such a weight loss, and it could be 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20, 30, 40, 100 pounds, 150 pounds, the journey, the road ahead is like going on a very long road trip, and you know that it's hours and hours down the road, and you have to get there, but the motivation to start is not always there because you're not going to enjoy the ride. People are more afraid of that journey than they actually are the end result. Some people are afraid of the end result too. They're not really quite sure what they're going to be like in their new body, or what they're going to look like, or what their whole life is going to look like. And so it's really your mindset. Ultimately, all of these thoughts are rationalizations, and these are things that we say to ourselves to keep us stuck and keep us immobile. We're our own worst enemies, and ultimately what winds up happening is we make excuses for ourselves. I'm not ready. I talk to a lot of people through Healthy Mama B, both online and offline, and I hear a lot of things. When I talk to people about how important it is to decrease calories and how important it is to exercise, I hear a lot of, I know. And it's true, we all know, but we can't find the motivation to change, okay? But then something happens. We get on the scale, or we go to the doctor, or we have a wedding invitation that arrives in the mail, or a high school reunion that's posted on Facebook, and we all of a sudden have the motivation to change. And we start to feel this twinge of excitement because we know this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. This is the motivation that I have been waiting for. I am going to do it. I am going to get down to the size that I've been wanting to be for so long. and we start to look at options. And we're so gung-ho and we're so excited that we want to get the weight off as soon as possible. So we resort to certain diets that may sometimes be drastic. For example, the cabbage soup diet, or the low-carb diet, or the eating in the little colored containers diet. Lots of different options out there. There are a million different options. As a matter of fact, the weight loss industry is a $60 billion industry. $60 billion. All there to help people lose weight. But really, the majority of people who are stuck and struggling with losing their weight have been at that same weight for many, many years. Or they've been successful at losing weight and then they've gained it back. I was that person. I was the person who had lost the weight, who had invested hundreds and hundreds, thousands of dollars on various different programs because I was so motivated to change. And then something happened. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Many of us in those moments think that we're motivated to change, but most often what really happens is that we're not necessarily where we need to be emotionally in order for us to succeed for the long term. It's sort of like we convince ourselves that we're ready, but we're not necessarily really ready to get there, okay? And it's like a perpetual cycle. Most people who seek to diet are usually going to go for the strict meal plans like we just talked about. And most of these strict meal plans don't offer a whole lot of deviations. And, you know, we think when we go on these plans that these restrictions are going to help keep us in control and that they're going to help us keep on track and that it's going to make us focused and determined, and we are going to get the results that we're looking for because this is it. This is the solution to our long-term problem. But the truth, the real honest truth, and if any of you have ever struggled with this, and I imagine that you have, the real truth of the matter is that we go on the programs, we do lose the weight, but then we get very bored, okay? The more we try to control our good foods and our bad foods, the more our emotions are triggered because we don't want to give up the bad foods. We're tired of eating all of the good foods. And then we start to feel overwhelmed and we start to feel bored, like I said, and then we get back to that feeling of being stuck again. So it's like being on this constant hamster wheel. You're stuck, you are motivated, you get on a plan, you get bored, you get stuck again. And when you get back to that stuck place, you may maintain your weight, you may gain your weight back. It really depends. Most of these tactics don't work long term because living on a restricted food plan does not work. It's not sustainable. You can't live that kind of lifestyle forever. It just isn't realistic. Are there people out there that give it up for life? Yes. Yes, there are. And all power to them. I think it's fantastic. But anybody who loves to eat, who like me, is not going to be happy on a restricted plan for the long haul. You could be on a restricted plan until you reach your goal weight, but if you're if you've experienced it like I have, you get to your goal or you lose your 20 pounds and then you go to a party and you'll have a piece of cake and then the next thing you know, well, I've already had cake, let me have pizza for dinner, and then the next morning you go out for breakfast and you have bacon and eggs and bagels and, you know, danishes, and then you just get off plan completely. Okay, which is self-sabotage, and I've talked about that in the past. Okay, when we fall off of our diet plans essentially and we fail to get back on track, we wind up gaining weight, going back to old habits, and we start to blame ourselves. That's where we start to do some self-loathing. We get angry, we blame ourselves for failing, we blame ourselves for not being strong enough to stick with the program, for being able to eat like everybody else and be able to live a lifestyle like everybody else. We don't blame the diet. We don't blame the restrictions that the diet gives us. We blame ourselves. We blame ourselves for being weak and a multitude, likely hundreds of other things that you say to yourselves that are ugly and terrible and things that you probably would never say to another human being. So ultimately, that results in us getting stuck again. So do you see how this works? You see the perpetual cycle over and over and over again? Stuck, unstuck, stuck, unstuck. So I guess the big question is, all right, and the big question for the evening and things, hopefully I'm going to be able to help you with this, is how do you get unstuck? How do you break the cycle of being on this hamster wheel, and how do you get off of it forever? I have to say, I never thought that it was possible. And I am live on Facebook, and I'm sure that this will be seen by a lot of people. The last post that I sent out there was seen over, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 people saw the post. And I hope that this is the same. I did not believe that I could get to a goal weight and that I would be able to maintain it. I thought that I was going to get back on the hamster wheel. And I can successfully say that I've been able to maintain, and I've been able to continuously lose, and I've been successful. And why? Why? Why did it work for me? Why does it work for others, but it doesn't work for everybody? Well, there's a couple of things that we have to do, and I'm going to share 5 of those things with you, and you can opt in or opt out. It's completely up to you. I'm going to share a couple things that worked for me and a couple of things that I tried that didn't necessarily work for me, but might work for you, okay? The most important one, the absolutely most important one, is that you have to let go of your past, okay? That is the most important, because we frequently beat ourselves up for the failures that we've had, the decisions that we've made, the weight that we've lost, and the weight that we've gained back, the dollars that we've spent that have essentially been just flushed down the toilet, literally, okay? You have to let go. At this point, it doesn't matter anymore. It's today, and today is day one, and every day is day one, every single day. Let go of what you failed at in the past, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Who you were then is not the same person you are today. And letting go will allow you to be in the right mindset to move forward. It's sort of like being in mud. When your feet are in mud, okay, sometimes you have to take off your shoes and leave your shoes in order to get out of it because you're stuck. In this analogy, leave your shoes behind, your old, dirty, ratty shoes, leave your baggage, get out of the mud, and start walking forward. It's really going to help. So how do you figure out what your baggage is, right? I mean, most people don't take the time out of their lives to do the introspection to really think about it. So my recommendation is to journal, okay? Take the time, buy a pretty little book, or use a spiral notebook if you want to, and start to write. Start to write about how you feel. And answer a question, and the question can be, how do I feel about myself? How do I feel about me? Okay, and then go to, where do I want to be? What is my goal? And just start to write about it. Write about where you've been successful and where you've not been successful. Really get all of the emotional stuff out. You'll feel so much better. It's so cathartic, and it allows you to let it go. So that's 1 and 2, essentially. Let go of your past and journal your feelings. It'll help put things into perspective. It'll help you figure out where you are now, why you're there, and why you've not been successful in the past. For me, it was emotional eating, and can I say I'm totally not eating emotionally anymore? No, I can't. I can't say that, because I'm an emotional eater, and I will always be an emotional eater. The difference is that I can control myself differently now, and I allow myself flexibility in my diet. And it's that flexibility that has allowed me to be successful. The rigidity doesn't. And if you're interested in learning more about my story, visit my website. It's www.healthy-mommabee.com. And in the About section, it gives you the whole story of how it began, why I made the decision to do it. And maybe through reading it, you'll be able to help evaluate your own feelings. And hopefully it will help you, okay? The third thing is create change. Create change in your life. Inner change leads to outer change. When you start to feel and think differently, okay, it projects differently outside of who you are. Change your routines. Okay, change your routines up a little bit. If you don't exercise, start exercising. I did a Facebook Live session a couple of nights ago about exercise and how to find the motivation. If you usually eat one thing for breakfast, try something else. But most importantly, change the way you think and perceive about you and about your place in the world and how you think about yourself. Once you think differently about who you are, a lot changes, okay? So create change. The fourth one, start to think about being stuck differently. Okay. Sometimes we're so resistant to change because we're so used to being stuck. If we start accepting the fact that we're stuck and not resisting it and saying, okay, you know what, fine, I'll take ownership. Okay. I've been wanting to diet for a really long time and I've not been successful, and I'm going to own that. I'm going to own that I've not been successful, and it's because I've been incredibly stressed out at work. It's because my kids are going through a lot at school. It's because I've got a lot going on in my life, and I'm going to own that. Okay? Thinking about being it, accept it, and say to yourself, okay, fine, you know what? I've been stuck and I get it, and I accept it, and it's part of life, but now I'm ready to let it go. See how it ties into number one? I'm ready to let it go, and I'm getting ready to move forward and try to be successful. Knowing, of course, that you will not be successful every single day. This is not going to be perfect. Okay? So the very last one is understanding that while you think about what you want and to set small, attainable goals to help you get there, understand that the journey is not going to be perfect. It isn't. And that's good. And that's okay. Because you know what? Life isn't perfect either. If life was, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. So ultimately, know that every day is going to have its own challenges. And that's why I say continuously, every day is day one. You wake up every morning with a whole new plan, a whole new perspective, and what happened yesterday doesn't matter anymore. If you were really great on your plan yesterday, awesome. Whew, fantastic. But you know what? That doesn't give you the excuse to eat more today. That means that you start all over today, and today is going to be a great day too. And if you mess up today, let's not call it mess up. Let's say you eat a little bit more than you're supposed to. You have a little birthday cake at a birthday party, maybe 2 slices. Maybe. Does that mean it's the end of the world? No, it means you get right back on track with dinner. You focus on what your goals are, and you move forward towards them, because that's what you do. This is a journey. It is forever. It's not for now. It's not until the wedding. It's not until the reunion. Okay? It's not until your next doctor's appointment. This is forever. This is who you're going to want to transform into, because when you transform yourself, you transform your whole world, and your whole world changes. Trust me, I know, because my entire world changed, and I have never, ever been happier than I am today. So there you have it. How to be unstuck 101. And now what you do with that information is entirely up to you. Be healthy, be happy. And if you can, go to my website. If you've not been to my Facebook page, please go ahead and check it out. I put daily motivations, recipes. I put my blogs up there. So please visit. And what I would really, really love, honestly, is for you to share these messages with your friends and family. There are people in your life that I know could benefit from these messages. So please share it. We are really close to 5,000 likes, and I know we've got over 5,000 followers on Facebook now, which is just incredible. So thank you for all of the support. I appreciate you more than you know, and please continue to spread the love. Be healthy, be happy. Good night.